Hi, my dear Astro family. It's time to start talking about 2024 because the end of the year is coming, and I would like to prepare my yearly forecast videos for you way in advance so that you can prepare for them. So today we will be examining Jupiter in the sign of Gemini a little bit. I hope you will enjoy this video, and then if you do so, please press like, share the video with others, and also you might want to be considering to becoming a member of my channel as well, so you can get weekly forecast, for example, and some special videos as well. So today we are looking at, oh, and one more announcement I would like to make. So in a couple of weeks' time, I'm starting a course only on progression. So we're gonna look at primary progression, secondary progression, solar arc, tertiary progressions, all you need to know about progressions. So I'm going to be offering a 20% discount for you now on that course. So you will see the code on the screen, and this is only valid till the 5th of August. So if you want to grab your place, you might want to be grabbing it now. Great. Let's get started with Jupiter in the 12 signs. And I will be breaking down this for you for the 12 signs as well, very briefly. So, first of all, Jupiter in Gemini can be a bit of a difficult position because Jupiter is in detriment in the sign of Gemini. But is that always the case? I mean, Jupiter in Gemini, you know what? It can be endlessly curious. And on one hand, it's great. Secondly, you know what? We can become the eternal student with that too, because our curiosity needs to be fed. You might be questioning all the time whether it's the truth. You might be way too open to alternative possibilities, and obviously, it can create some type of a mental fog. It can create mentally being kind of like restless. You know, Jupiter here says that we need to explore the truth from different angles because Gemini is all about collecting the data, while Jupiter is the exploration of the truth. So doing that from different angles, you know what? It's about how intelligent we are, how resourceful we are. We might want to be writing a book, for example. We want to study something. We want to become a historian as well. You know what? Here also another thing is that it's not just about hearing or talking, but listening as well at the same time. Jupiter is listening and Gemini is speaking. Just think about the third and the ninth house axis overall. So, but to have a great conversation with someone, you know what? It's not just about having a monologue, but also listening to the other partner as well. And therefore, you know, from a mundane point of view, am I always going to listen to rumors and gossips? Do I have a filter system here which is going to tell me that that's bullshit, for example, what I'm reading in the social media and so forth? So we need to edit that down a little bit. Also, it could talk to you about because Gemini, Jupiter in Gemini is very good at recognizing good financial opportunities, kind of like from a mile away. So are you going to be listening to your gut feelings, Jupiter, or are you starting, or you're going to start collecting some data and information before you make a decision, and then it might become too late? It's about training your mind to get to a higher vibration, for example. It's about being a lot more sociable as well. So sociability will be a big question in the world. You know, whether I'm locked up, whether I'm around people, whether I'm going to be traveling a lot. You know, it's about expressing your opinion and listening to other people's opinions as well at the same time. So one of the teachings of Jupiter here is to learn to communicate about your own insights or sharing all the accumulated knowledge of yours uh, to a massive audience. Because often Jupiter in Gemini remains kind of like a eternal student, and then it never gets to the teacher archetype. What is Jupiter really? It could talk to you about, for example, examining your defense mechanism about how you are deflecting other people's point of view. Or do we get into shallow conversations with others? Or do we have got a tendency to ask the same questions? Or do we ask questions, but are they the right questions? So we're gonna have to look at our questioning system as well a little bit. Also, definitely, this is talking to us about how easily we can get bored when there is a conversation going on, for example, and it doesn't pique our interest. We might just want to be walking away. It's about focus. Now, Gemini, Jupiter together is about lack of focus. So, am I going to be able to focus on what's important, or my mind is going to be wandering around all the time? Or it's very easy to think during Jupiter in Gemini period that everything is extremely important. So we're gonna have to learn to distinguish information here, to edit them down a little bit, to compartmentalize those. Because knowing everything doesn't make you smarter, right? Jupiter wants you to actually try to connect the dots overall between two heaps of information, and then seeing them through. Uh, it also might tell you that because it's about attention, your attention span can be a lot shorter. So there is a need here to learn to focus on the goal, having the eyes on the prize. And yes, you can have the encyclopedia of knowledge within you, but if you don't know how to utilize that knowledge, then you are in trouble. This is an emotionally disconnected combination as well. So we just preach, we just talk, we just listen, but we don't know how to emotionally actually get involved here. You know what? You can have loads of new ideas, new approaches to life. This could increase your moral codes and moral standards, or it can just take them away completely. The mind is racing. You know what? It might actually tell you that it's time to study a new language. It's very possible that the school system is going to be changing, but we're going to look at the mundane side of things as well. Maybe you're going to see that when it comes to text messages, that everyone is using slangs. And I don't know how to interpret those slangs. Maybe we're just going to start using these smiley faces, and that's the way how we communicate. You know, often actually, Jupiter here can indicate that, what, the sibling is better than me. So we look at the sibling as a superior, for example. Often it could also indicate that we are working on our intellectual development quite a lot, but are we meant to be working on our spiritual one as well? And that could be very important too. I mean, this is a great position to become a teacher, for example. Often the education becomes very important. It's going to be a highlight most likely in 2024. Oh, I haven't given you the dates, right? Oh, wow. I should have started with that. But here you go. Uh, Jupiter is going to enter Gemini on the 25th of May, 2024, and it's going to remain there till the 6th of June 2025. And the last time Jupiter was in the sign of Gemini was between June 11, 2012 till June 25, 2013. So, first of all, Jupiter rules Sagittarius, right? So definitely Jupiter in Sagittarius wants to increase awareness of cultural differences or foreign matters, but it's going to be now opposing that sign. So often what happens is that we are actually a little bit more focused on what is going on around us in the neighborhood. And when we don't care anymore about what is going out there in the world. And that could be also, something important, like a local newspaper, for example, or the local education system. Why do we need to follow a certain type of education systems when we can have also a great one right here in front of us? That's a possibility. Also, it might be that you start working a little bit more on what to study. Maybe you want to be having a deep dive into a new field, typically because Jupiter wants to change a position, for example, or a better opportunity comes around. Maybe it can talk to you about you working on your writing skills or speaking skills. Maybe you're gonna get more interested in handcrafts, anything homemade and handmade type of things. Obviously, Jupiter represents law as well. So it's in a mutable sign now. It's very possible that the law is gonna change. Some of the political and religious approach of life is going to be changed because Jupiter is about philosophy. So we might read a lot more about philosophy of others and the history of neighborhood countries, for example, and so on. But I give you a quick idea of what really can drive me nuts. Obviously, that's also Jupiter in the sign of Gemini. You get a phone call. And then you pick up the phone and then, hi, I'm Victor. How can I help you? Who are you? And then the question is, what's your name? And then I'm like, sorry, you called me. So, in my opinion, you should be introducing yourself, who you are, and then you should tell me where you're calling from. What's the reason for calling? And then after you can maybe ask my name. So the telephone etiquette, for example, can be a topic. You know what? Maybe I'm a little bit too much, but that's important for me. Personally, I know I'm expecting sometimes a little bit too much, but when I receive an email and then, there is no hi there or hello, there is no greetings, I find it weird, that these are kind of disappearing. And this could be emphasized here in the next 1 year. And most likely, what, that's why I said we're going to use these smiley faces. And, instead of the communication will start changing significantly. Also, remember that Jupiter goes into the sign of Gemini, but then we're going to have Uranus coming in there as well. So obviously, that's going to be revolutionizing the way we speak, we talk, and the language learning and all these type of things. So I feel like Jupiter is just a slightly bit an ambassador there now. It could talk to us about how the newspaper agencies will change, for example. Most likely, there is going to be some major hot topics on the screens, surely. So we're going to see that type of things. And that's why I said, when it comes to editing down what you believe and what you're not, is just make sure you pay attention to that. But you know what? This is a position which is inviting you for a mental adventure. It is about the shift of the mind. It's about learning more about brain. So we might start seeing a lot more, kind of like a brain-related science are emerging. That could be, for example, a great investment source. By the way, whenever Jupiter is whatever sign Jupiter goes through, typically it shows that we have got way too much of those. So, for example, Gemini represents something to do with the phones or social media and these type of stuff. So I can imagine that there is going to be a lot more emphasis on how much time we spend on, I don't know, TikTok or social media, or how many minutes of my YouTube videos are you watching. And I know that the average is, for example, I do monitor also. I do know that the average is approximately about 15 minutes, right? If I make a 1 hour video, you guys watch about 15 minutes out of that. So these type of statistics could be something which people are going to start paying attention a lot more. So, but there is the shift of the mind here. It's about the opportunity to grow through intellectual conversations. Maybe actually, you know what, the libraries will either start growing or they're going to be disappearing completely. Well, let's see these online libraries, like the Script or these type of places. This might become a more of a prominence, for example. Definitely, the craving for more intellectual conversation, intellectually stimulating conversations will be a lot more. There is going to be an emphasis on that the knowledge is such a key, you know. So I feel like people will be studying, but it also comes with a lack of follow through, being overly detailed, getting lost among all the data. You know what? We've got too many ideas going on, but where is the planning with it? Getting into gossips. Either Jupiter wants to look at the bigger picture while Gemini is looking at the small details. So often, actually, it's kind of like, I know I'm ready to share something with others, but I also feel like I'm not well prepared anymore because, another picture which comes to my mind that America, there was this meme somewhere that America won the some mathematical competitions first time in 30 years. And they took a picture of the students and all were Chinese. So basically someone said, well, if you cannot win, just buy them, right? And obviously, if you think about Jupiter, sorry, and Gemini, which is about sales and purchase of things, so it looks like there is going to be some, uh, like certain type of products, which there is going to be too much of them. Also, we do need to remember that wherever Jupiter is, there is certain element of luck in those um, in those areas. So when Jupiter is in the uh, sign of Gemini, the luck could be coming from, for example, that your luck is coming to you if you communicate, if you are open, if you are in the neighborhoods, when you are connecting with people. Or for example, you go on sometimes social media channels as well, pretty much. But it's more about, for me, it's more about an in-person type of connections with others. Just because Jupiter is, it's sorry, Gemini is more about your immediate environment and so forth. And Jupiter represents abandon and expansion and prosperity and good fortune overall. It can also be greed. It is about a magnifying glass overall. But astrology is a great tool to give you insight into your, luck as well. So one of your strengths with the Jupiter in Gemini is that you are quick-witted and you are not taking things too seriously. You've got the ability to catch on, to learn quickly, to adapt to new situations. You can be great at taking advantage of opportunities, even when something is not expected immediately, right? So I feel like this could talk to you about unexpected opportunities, something which is actually just popping into your arms or landing on you, basically. And then when you are ready to jump on that train, then it can give you luck. The luck can be in your on your side. So maybe, when it comes to investment or something like that, the telecommunication or anything to do with the travel industry might be growing significantly. Hopefully, what we're gonna see is that the prices of certain tickets are gonna be dropping. I doubt that, but it can give us an increased opportunity to travel, to learn new things, to therefore connect with others in different places as well. Maybe they're gonna ease up a little bit the education system or the scoring system so that people can get into fields as well. Jupiter does or can represent financials, so maybe certain type of visits can bring financial help to us or to certain countries, or you're gonna benefit from short trips, or you're gonna get some type of text messages overall or emails or a friend, and then that's how you receive some type of gifts or opportunities by others. But it's so important that we connect with people, at least in our neighborhood. And it can also talk to us about that certain type of communities will start rising and forming. Now, from a mundane point of view, Gemini is all about travel, typically more on the short travels, while Jupiter is the long distance travel. So Gemini would represent traveling by bus or car or bicycle, and so on. So hopefully what we see is either we're going to see a lot more cars on the road, or hopefully we're going to see a lot more bicycles on the road, because there is going to be a little bit more cautious approach to the air quality. Why am I thinking that? Because once Jupiter moves into the sign of Gemini, it's going to be trining the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction point, which was 0 degree of Aquarius. And I feel like the air quality has improved significantly during COVID, apparently, right? Because workplaces closed down and all those type of things, but also from a mundane point of view, Gemini represents neighborhood countries or the busier cities, or it could show people, for example, moving a little bit more to the countryside or moving to the cities a little bit to be able to find I don't know, better job, for example. But unfortunately, this could really block up the roads, like the mass transit, traffic jams. These could be very significant, unfortunately. Also, the Gemini rules anything to do with young people or something to do with the primary education, typically. Some of the book says that the fifth house would be the primary school, whichever way you want to go with. Uh, so it could talk to us about that our attitude towards education will start changing. I mean, I feel like anyway that the education will be changing quite significantly. Maybe not Jupiter will bring that. Maybe it's going to be, Uranus, but the education system will change for sure. It's just not sustainable anymore. And this is something I also mentioned back in the days when I was preparing the Jupiter and Saturn conjunction in the sign of Aquarius. Now, this would be briefly about what Jupiter represents in, you know, a couple of other things. Jupiter in Gemini can become a little bit impulsive, you know, can be like, I want to be liked by others. So often we try hard to make people like us, but it's definitely very sociable. Obviously, at the end of the day, Jupiter is in detrimental position in here. So we do need to utilize this for our best way, Typically what I see is that Jupiter in Gemini, it's just being online. And when you start thinking about how much time, for example, our kids spend on laptops and so forth, hopefully this is going to get reformed somehow, at least at one point, and Jupiter is going to be the ambassador of that, being on fresh air and so forth. This is something I really would like to see in the future. So, and also, if you think about Gemini being a twin, right? So it has got two sides. Now it has got definitely the sign which represents the mind, but I also believe that there is the heart side of that too. Gemini has nothing to do with genders, right? It's gender fluid. Most likely, there is going to be regulations about this gender fluidness as well, which there are so much talk about. By the way, Jupiter moves into, yes, I can talk about this forever. But Jupiter moving into the sign of um, Gemini, actually straight away, it's going to be making a conjunction with Sedna. Now, Sedna's astrological number is 90377. So there is going to be a new cycle starting there. Now, obviously, Sedna spends way too much time in one sign. So it went into the sign of Taurus, what, in 1960s, pretty much. So a good 70 years ago. But it started shifting into the sign of Gemini. So, and it's going to be sitting around 0 degree anyway, still in 2024. So Jupiter will be making a conjunction with Sedna straight away. Now, I did make a free of charge webinar on Sedna if you are unsure about what Sedna actually represents in our chart. But a couple of things which I kind of believed would be happening with Sedna. Uh, that one of them is definitely about this gender fluidity. Sedna is very much about discoveration of our spirituality, kind of like becoming a not so much of a spoiled child anymore, just kind of like growing up. And this is definitely gonna bring us something to do with um, the realization that we don't always need to rely on others. For example, it definitely will, uh, I think, bring awareness about the air quality, or there is going to be a lot more talk about climate change. It could bring some natural disasters, unfortunately, and most likely this would be a little bit more related to Southeast Asian territories, actually. It could talk about, in a very bad way, unfortunately, kind of like a bird flu pandemic, the air quality somehow. It could talk to us about the computer and the technological, stuff, how it's going to be changing, or something to do with the virtual money. But definitely the computerized knowledge is going to be a big one here. And we're going to realize that the computers are more and more indispensable. Hopefully, there is going to be some faster ways of traveling by plane, or Jupiter represents the sky, so probably some trips to the sky, like trips to, I don't know, other planets or galaxies and so forth. There's going to be a lot more exploration going on. You know, uh, Most likely, maybe there is going to be 6G coming in. So some type of technological advancements, surely. I believe that brain research will be very prominent. So something to do with the mental health. Oh, that's going to be a big topic here, I believe. And maybe it could talk about the lack of mental health practitioners, for example. It could talk about anything to do with the neurological discoveries, the nerve-related discoveries. most likely there will be some great new planets discovered, which is actually might be changing the way how we see the patterns in the sky as well. And, it could talk to us about the virtual reality, how the VR, how it's gonna start kind of like getting more popular or spread around quite a lot, especially with Gemini, the younger generation. Interesting that Saturn also rules, by the way, something to do with the Marines or something to do with fishes and so on. So, yeah, I mean, let's see how does that play out, surely. But that's an important conjunction as well. But we wanted to look at the 12 signs. So let's get started with those. So if you have an Aries rising sign, then it means that this transit is going to be happening in your third house. And you should not forget that Jupiter actually rules your ninth and the 12th house as well. So those need to be taken into account. Now, when Jupiter is going through your third house, you know what? It's going to be activating your daily routines. What's your relationship like, for example, with your neighbors and siblings? Um, because it's a detrimental position for Jupiter, often we can have a little bit more arguments with the neighbors. But also, you know what? It's very possible that there is going to be some event happening with our neighbors and siblings. For example, they are getting married because this is the seventh sign away from the ninth house. Also, this is possible that you are going to be commuting a lot more. Maybe it's because of work, for example, or you are just planning to change your location, the change of place overall. Again, that is possible just because the third house is all about a commuting, travels. It can also represent moving as well. I mean, Jupiter does rule the moving in your chart. Also, it could indicate that there is going to be some good luck coming your way. Maybe that's going to be through travels and what type of connections you make with foreigners, different cultural backgrounds, and so forth. Also, watch out, you can get into some type of um, gossips, or might be influenced by some type of prejudice. You might feel that people are actually uh, um, um, kind of like criticizing you somehow. It could also indicate that this is a time when you're gonna have to watch out for any of the people who try to scam you into something. For example, selling you something. It might be actually an indication that you're gonna have your cars breaking down a lot more, and you're going to have to buy a new car, or it's going to cost an arm and a leg to fix your car, and so forth. Also, this could be showing you some type of increase when it comes to your business activities. That's a possibility too. And because Jupiter also rules your 12th house, watch out for anything to do with illnesses, especially when it comes to your lungs. This could be a perfect time, for example, if you wanted to give up smoking, for example, because the 12th house is something to do with the bad habits. The third house is something to do with the lungs, for example. So that's why it could be a great time to give up smoking if that's something you want to do. But definitely, there is a desire here, like your intellectual interests can lead or can get a lot higher. So you might start a new course, for example. You're going to be studying. It is typically more of a short-term study, by the way, rather than a long-term course. So it's not necessarily an educational, like a higher educational type of stuff. And typically, this is because we want to start a new work. I mean, Jupiter plays a significant role when it comes to our work, just because it's the previous ruler of the 10th house. Also, this could be talking to you about enjoying studying a little bit more. Maybe you're going to be looking at the trends, the world trends, a little bit more as well. Your growth can be just coming from how much of the knowledge, how good, how well your knowledge is, how well organized it is. Definitely, it's all about being enthusiastic about some of your ideas. Maybe actually your ideas will be well received by the neighborhood, by your siblings. You might get the support from them overall. Opportunities to travel, or maybe you want to be in a different country and then you want to study something there. It might be that, you know what, you have never finished, for example, your higher education, and then you just decide that, you know what, it's time to learn. It's time to expand our knowledge as well. Maybe it's about getting into a transportation business, such as, you know, like deliveries and so forth. That is also something to do with Gemini anyway. Definitely, I feel like you can become a lot more sociable this year, and let's say if you are working in a company, then it's very much about PR and marketing and promoting your services, pretty much selling your knowledge to others. Some of your opportunities could be coming just through a message, an email, or what type of contacts you exchange with others, kind of like introducing a plumber to a friend of yours. And then that's going to be bringing you somehow some type of luck there. But also the third house can represent classmates as well. So signing up for a course, meeting a classmate, for example, and becoming a friend with them overall. Maybe some of you want to be actually publishing a book or starting to write. You discover a talent within yourself in regards to writing and so on. You might start some type of business or trading overall. And it can actually increase um, your own cash flow overall. But because Jupiter does rule your 12th house, I still would like you to be a little bit more cautious about, you know, how far we go with there. But definitely it's a time for you, Aries, to expand your money because Pluto will be trining um, uh, Pluto will be trining Jupiter on that 0 degree as well, by the way. And Pluto is placed currently in your 11th house, which is about your long-term goals and how they are changing. So, dear Taurus rising sign, Jupiter will be in your second house, and Jupiter rules your 8th and 11th house. So, pretty much the finances are getting heavily impacted for you. So how are you going to make the most out of it, right? So it could pretty much talk to you about learning about your own finances, learning about your limitations when it comes to finances, or you're just going to be learning about investments overall. You need to increase your knowledge about money. You know, maybe the realization that money is not a limited source and we just need to reach out. There are opportunities financially, and then when I grab them, then it's very possible to make a little bit more. There is the sideline there too, where you're gonna have to watch out how much you spend, how greedy you become about your financials, and also, it might be telling you to examine a little bit your comfort level as well. It's about the power of earning. Uh, Maybe it's about technological investments, what you can do actually. But also, it could talk to you about an increased value system. So it could be pretty much of a profitable year for you if you have got the confidence there, if you are enthusiastic, if you deal with your money blockages, if you decide that, you know what, I'm talented, I'm going to be developing on my talent. It looks like you're going to have to learn something new to boost your finances. Without that, it might not be working because it rules your 8th and 11th house. So the 11th house is something to do with um something to do with uh friends and benefactors in our lives, so we can make some great beneficial relationships as well, and they might be putting you on the road. I usually describe 11th house as the house of kind of like superpower. It's the house, it describes the people we need to hang around so that it teaches us, it boosts us further. So it could talk to you about increasing your possessions. It might be that you're going to be making a major purchase this year. And that could be a asset, of course. So maybe a property, maybe a car, something a little bit on the bigger. It's a little bit of a tangible asset what we are talking about. Also, because the second house is something to do with our self-worth, Jupiter wants us to learn about self-worth. Jupiter also rules your eighth house. So it's about facing your fears. It's about knowing that I can change. It's about learning to be a little bit more flexible. It's about, you know what? It's about receiving fair treatment. It's about the ability to love ourselves, finding ways how to love myself. Because when I love myself, good things starts coming around. And that's important. And because we're talking about Gemini, which is all in our mind, right? So the mind needs to be recalibrated here. Yes, Jupiter here sometimes is about overspending, overeating. You might be kind of like an anxious eater. Okay, so how am I going to be dealing with those as well? Right? Or maybe you want to be looking at how the social media 11th house is influencing your earning ability, but your eating habits, for example, your spending habits. Do I spend too much time on social media and so forth? So these are some of the major topics you're going to have to be looking out for. I feel like some of you will start, or plenty of you will start new jobs because Pluto will be in your 10th house, which is about career. So Jupiter will be trining your sixth and will be trining your 10th house as well. And there is one important message behind that. When I love my work, second house as in loving, 10th house as in work, then all of a sudden my mental health improves significantly. And that's the Gemini and the sixth house method there. So I think that's the most important message for you. Dear Gemini, if you have got Jupiter going through your first house, and Jupiter rules the 7th and the 10th here, so we're going to have to integrate that into our reading as well. You know what? This is very much about how you present yourself. It is about learning about your approach to life, to your relationship, and to your career as well at the same time. This transit wants you to transform your mind to be more optimistic, a little bit more cheerful, to work on your presentation skills, how you come across to others. It might be about thinking about, your relationship department, such as why I'm single, why I am married, and so forth, because Jupiter rules your 7th house. But the 7th house ruler is coming into the first house. So this could be a brilliant time, actually, especially if you are single, to start dating, for example. And maybe the 10th house, how it's going to get switched on here, is that you're going to meet someone through work. But also, if you are, if you haven't worked for a while, then this would talk to you about the possibility that the work is walking into your own pocket. So this could actually talk to us about possibly a new workplace as well. Now, we should not forget, though, that Jupiter is in detriment. And Jupiter is a little bit hasty here. So we're going to have to be, think about how enthusiastic I am when I'm following through a project. This is kind of like a karmic reset for you, starting new things in your life. So because it rules your seventh house, rules your 10th house, could talk about starting a new job, starting a new relationship as well. Maybe, yes, there is that saying there too, that with Jupiter in the first house, we can gain weight. Okay, yeah, we can gain weight. Typically, I tend to see that we put on weight with Jupiter when we have no meaning to life. So this is definitely asking you to start finding that meaning in your life. It could talk to you about meeting a guru, meeting an interesting person in your life, or you might just feel overall that the year is a little bit luckier for you, kind of like a little bit of a lucky break from trouble overall. Or you see that, what, the trouble is disguised, and every single trouble comes with some type of opportunity as well at the same time. It might be that if you've got your current business, then it might be about the growth of your business. That's a possibility too. It's possible that you're going to be moving to a new place. It's possible that you're going to be exploring new things. It might be about that, what? I want to be having fun. I want to be a lot more sociable. I do not want to feel guilty about having fun because I've got my desires as well at the same time. But we can do that with our partner, for example. Uh, if you are in a relationship, the detrimental Jupiter can indicate that you might feel that the relationship has outgrown. And maybe I want to start a new chapter in my life. It's about self promotion. It's definitely not about neglecting your own needs. It's about attending your own needs. It's about focusing on your future goals. It's about knowing your own worth and capability. It's about feeling confident about who I am, about yourself. So maybe this is teaching you that you should not be withdrawing yourself from any of the good things in life. It is about having your second childhood, because the 10th house often just wants to be attending work and duties. The 7th house becomes a little bit of a people pleaser. But what this Jupiter tells you is that this time around, I am meant to be just focusing on me a little bit, right? It's about searching who I am, who truly I am. So I don't think it should always be about putting on weight. And that's what I want to be emphasizing here for you. Now, starting a fresh life or having that can-do attitude. Previously Jupiter was transiting your 12th house. So that is about a karmic closure. Something comes to an end. So that's why in the first house, there is that can-do attitude, which needs to be increased. The past needs to be left behind. And you know what? I can overcome any type of problem. Challenges come around. I'm going to sort them out. Believing in yourself, knowing that, you know what, there are no limits in life. It's all in our head, Gemini. And I need to do a little bit of a cleansing there. Okay, dear Cancer rising sign. So this is going to be taking place in your 12th house, and Jupiter rules your 6th and 9th house. So you might be one of those signs which experiences Jupiter just a little bit more on the challenging side. When you have got Jupiter going through your 12th house, one of the things you can benefit from is just taking a step back, working behind the scenes, being a little bit more private, not getting into gossips and any type of arguments. Just it's a little bit like reevaluating your life. Watch out because you can become a lot more sensitive. You can be a lot more empathetic. You want to be giving hand. You might be preaching to others about what the right course of action is. And the question is, do they want your advice? It is also talking about spiritual protection. So, how do you protect yourself from kind of like these blood vampires overall? How are you going to get rid of some of the self-destructive behavior, some of your bad habits? And that's going to be a topic for you because Jupiter rules the sixth house, which is the planet of health. So it's about improving your health. It's about improving your daily activities, basically, from a spiritual point of view. So, are you smoking? Why am I smoking? What am I trying to hide with that? How am I going to let that go? But also, it could talk about what is affecting my mental health. What are those deep seated fears which needs to be somehow get rid of? Or do you feel guilty if you are not helping others? Do you feel that they take advantage of you? Right? Or do you want a guardian angel to be sitting on your shoulders? But it's all in your subconscious mind. Often it's about helping others, and then you don't get like, a thank you for it, and then it bothers you. But Gemini wants you to speak up about it, right? Don't hold it inside. I mean, Cancer, it's a quiet sign, right? So it tends to be crying just at a corner, for example. Also, this could be a period of time, when I'm kind of sitting at home and I'm dreaming about, oh, I wish I became an actor, or I wish I were rich, or these type of things. Jupiter and Gemini says that stop dreaming about it. Why don't you take an action on it? Just go down on meditation, go on a spiritual retreat, empower yourself, because you can benefit from these type of things. It's about the reconnection to the self, pretty much. 12th house could be a success house. It is connected to the first and it sextiles the 10th. So sometimes we have to withdraw ourselves, stepping away from things to see, stuff from a different angle. It's about privacy. Yes, sometimes it indicates that what makes me anxious is whether my husband or boyfriend or wife is cheating on me. Sometimes we actually feel helpless with this position too. So that is something you're gonna also have to work on a little bit. Jupiter rules your sixth house, as I said. So we mentioned something around the health department and how it is important to implement certain type of routines, to abandon certain type of negative routines, or replacing them with a positive one. Or it might be just telling you that you need to be a little bit more optimistic about your medical conditions as well. But Jupiter is also the planet which rules travel in your chart. So are you thinking about relocating maybe to a overseas countries? Are you preparing yourself mentally to start fresh at one point, especially when Jupiter is going to go into the sign of Cancer? Now, that could be a major topic for you too. And that could be exciting as well, by the way. Also, you can become a lot more intuitive this time around. You might get involved in charity works. For example, remember that the 6 and the 12th house is pretty much about the helping access. So it's not just about being helped, but also how much I help others as well. Maybe you realize that you walk on the road and then you just give people something. Uh, Maybe you're gonna pull a community together to build kind of like a charitable event, for example. This is about compassionate love. So helping others without expecting so much back in return. But I would still say that a thank you is actually important here. Maybe you're gonna be actually working on a project because the sixth house is something to do with work as well. So working behind the scenes, getting ready to publish something maybe in 2025, which might be bringing some type of success because Jupiter will be exalted in your own sign. So that could be also exciting for you. Also, you might get into spirituality. I mean, Jupiter was your ninth house here. So studying ninth house about spirituality. And there's the 12th house. And Gemini is also about studying as well. Maybe you want to study something about metaphysics or dream interpretation or just any type of spiritual programs overall. Maybe you decide that, you know what, I want to become an astrologer. right? If you are going, or if you withdraw yourself a little bit from society, then I feel like there is a possibility here of achieving some type of success, because Jupiter will be sextiling your midheaven most likely, or at least your 10th house. Now, Pluto will be placed in your eighth sign, right? So there is going to be that trine there. So it can indicate, for example, that someone's losses is my gain, but also my loss is someone else's gain too. And that could be a motto there. I feel like it's very much about your deep-seated fears, the exploration of those fears. Where do they originate from? To feel again empowered, to feel strong. This could talk to you about changing your lifestyle by just, I don't know, going to the gym and so forth. And that could be important for you. Great. So, dear Leo, this is going to be taking place in your 11th house, and Jupiter rules your 5th and 8th house also. So, when Jupiter goes through the 11th house, this is about what type of networks I make. I mean, Jupiter is one of the financial planets here in your chart. I mean, the ruler of the 5th and the 8th house, those are financial houses, by the way. One is more connected to self-employment. The other one is more connected to inheritance and taxes and other people's money overall, especially if you provide a service to others. So I can increase my money just by being on social media, for example, a lot more, or the way how I do networking. So this could connect to marketing, PR also to a larger scale. So maybe it's about doing a YouTube video, maybe it's about advertising something on Google and so forth. But also it wants you to examine or study a little bit more about your long-term goals. Who are your friends? Who are the benefactors? Am I hanging around the right people? Am I part of the right community, a bigger organization? It's very possible that your friends are going to be helping you out. The friends are there providing you a shoulder to kind of cry on when it's needed, but also to give you some great ideas, Gemini, so that you can lead a more fruitful life overall. This is also the house of wishes and dreams. I don't necessarily like the meaning of dreams to the 11th house, because people tend to believe that this is the dream of like sleeping dream, and that's not the case actually. This is about wishful thinking who I want to become in the future. So whatever you do now during that 1 year transit, it's going to be affecting your future significantly. So that's why we are talking about the long-term goals here. But in order for us to bring that around, we need to have a broad mind to it, such as maybe some type of technological advancement, technological investments we can do with this into our business projects. Maybe politically, we need to become a little bit more involved, building a community, getting to know new friends as well, joining a club or a group or these type of stuff, because those people can help you fulfill your goals overall. And it's about connecting with like-minded people with the same interest, maybe with the same curiosity as well. Also, spiritualists could pretty much tell you that, you know what, I have to believe that I can trust people. I can believe in people. I don't need to rely on myself at all times. Just because Jupiter rules the eighth house, this is the planet of trust in your chart as well. This is about bringing your special talent, ruler of the fifth, into into the eye of an audience. Going to be very important for you. It's about increasing your profit as well. 11th house is a money house. So maybe your profit is going to get increased by your investments, or maybe you're gonna get something, unfortunately, like an inheritance. That's a possibility too. Inheritance through parents, grandparents, or even friends as well. It could talk to you about the way how you open up the door for opportunities, or are you keeping them shut? Opportunities are exciting because they, kind of like it gives you the possibility to pretty much start fresh, maybe in the future. So that could be exciting for us. Dear Virgo rising sign, this is going to be happening in your 10th house, and Jupiter rules your fourth and the seventh. So surely there is going to be one topic here. Do I need to attend my increased workload, or do I want to be spending time together with my family or with my loved ones overall? Finding a balance between work and private life. This is going to be a big one for you. But then what you might see with Jupiter is that there is this increased workload going on. When I'm up for promotion, for example, and then I feel like I have to be at the workplace 24/7, but then it's affecting your marriage because Jupiter is squaring your descendant and opposing your family life. So can I make that sacrifice? What am I going to do? Yes, this is very fortunate. This can expand your career. This can expand your business. Imagine that you're going to open a second store, for example. You've got the first one, now you get the second one. Or you've been working extremely hard on something, and then now you want to get the reputation or recognition for it, right? But are you getting the recognition at work or by your family as well? So this could be a major topic here. Also, this could talk to you about having slightly bit of a conflict between mom and dad, for example. That's a possibility. This could also talk about a new job opportunity, which is coming around. Obviously, a new job opportunity would indicate that at the beginning, we become kind of like people pleasers. But this is might be telling you that there needs to be just a little bit of a boundary from the beginning so that you can attend the needs of your family and your partners as well. Maybe also this is talking about job trainings, such as learning new skills so that eventually you can have a better job. Maybe you want to get a diploma, for example. Maybe it's just a work training, which is going to teach you about management style or sales related skills as well. Now, that's a possibility too. Maybe you're going to have your boss on your side, or the bosses become somehow important now. Maybe you are in the eye of the boss. Oh, he is a potential, I don't know, person who can be, promoted in the future. So then you want to be pleasing them because the seventh house is also about pleasing, but also it talks to you about competitors too. And because Jupiter is in detriment here, that would be showing that, you know what, we've got the competitive competitors, and then they don't necessarily like the idea that I'm getting favored by my boss. Also, it could talk to you about having a little bit of a freedom at your work. No one is necessarily kind of checking you out all the time, or you don't need to report to others, or maybe you just have to write up a report, and then they are kind of happy with that. And that could be the reward for you. It is about visibility and the promotion of your business and work as well, surely. So it's time, if you have got your own business, it's time to put a little bit of the money into marketing, PR, advertising, and so forth. Okay, so let's move on. Libra rising sign. So Jupiter will be transiting your ninth house, and of course, it rules the third house for you primarily, and that's one of the most important one for you, of course, just because there's the opposite sign from Gemini, but also Jupiter rules your sixth house as well. So one of the things which is going to be very important for you is mental health. So do I have a clear mind? Do I have a frazzled mind? What makes me nervous? Does future makes me nervous? Ninth house can represent the future. Do I have got readings, for example, which is a little bit more negative? This is definitely telling you to have a more optimistic mindset because the negative mindset is gonna eat you up. And how are you gonna do that? But also, these houses are connected to studying as well. So it's about gaining the knowledge and then finally testing the knowledge as well. It's about, again, an expanded mindset. It's about getting to know others. It might be that, you know what, I'm going to be relocating. I'm going to have the opportunity to study, to improve my skills, to travel, to expand your horizon, to get a little bit more diverse overall. Definitely, if it's something to do with studying, then it might be about, you know, but I need a university diploma. I want to study abroad, for example. I want to learn a new language. And the new language with the six houses because I don't know, I need that for IT or I need that for something which is going to be helping my everyday activities overall. Also, if you have got a business, this might be about promoting your business in foreign countries as well. So not just locally, but in foreign ways as well. So again, advertising, the promotions, the kind of like a newsletter or subscription plans and these type of stuff could be very favorable now for you from a financial point of view. Yes, maybe legal matters are also on the horizon. So watch out whether, you know, you reference, for example, something you copied out or, you know, these type of stuff that could be very important. Maybe it's about getting to know a writer, a news agent who is going to write about your business or about yourself as well. So sometimes this travel is not just about me traveling, but the news travels fast as well, as we say in English. Also, this could be the representation of your in-laws. So something to do with your, for example, your sisters or your brother's husband and wife, for example. Maybe you guys gonna have a pretty much of a life-changing idea exchange going on. Maybe you had some challenging relationship going on with your siblings, and it can get magnified even further, or we're gonna get to sit down together and then start ironing that out. Because we might have got hung up on small things before, and then it led to a little bit of an argument, and we were not listening. And Jupiter in the ninth is telling you to start developing a little bit more of a listening skill. Great. Let's move on. Jupiter going through the eighth house. So that means that you have got a Scorpio rising sign. And therefore, what's going to get triggered for you is the second and the fifth house also. So the financial houses are getting pretty active here, right? So that's what we want to be focusing on. Now, if you have got Jupiter going through your eighth house, which is typically can be a difficult one, but because you have got the second house involved here and the fifth house, so it's about looking at why I'm unable to love myself, looking at in what ways I can improve my self-love. How can I express myself better? Do I have got issues of sharing something, a secret about myself, or am I too private? It could talk to you about being sensitive a little bit to power struggles. You might see that you are actually struggling to maintain your own personality because people are fighting over you, people are fighting over everything pretty much. And then you learn to be a little bit more manipulative, of course, with your mind here, right? And you might learn that, you know what, I can only trust myself. And I should not be vulnerable anymore. So we just start making these defense mechanisms in our minds. This could also talk to you about because Jupiter is one of your financial planets, and your money goes to the bank, eighth house. So it might be that you finish off paying, you finished to pay off your mortgage or any of your loans, and then you feel like you can start again. It could also indicate that you are going to be actually financially suffering a little bit. And you are reminded that we're going to have to slow down with our expenditure too, which is obviously going to be hurting your ego. And that's the fifth house element there. Maybe it's about helping out your husband or your wife with finances as well, because they are going through a little bit of a rough period. Also, this is the axis of intimacy. So, can I be intimate with my partner? Jupiter is increasing the sexual appetite, or it just wants to be more cuddly, but it's Gemini, which wants mental stimulation. And maybe it gets a little bit irritated that I get I don't know, a text message, for example, with I don't know, what is that, a zucchini or whatever it is, right? An eggplant. And then you are like, what the F is going on in this world? I get kind of frustrated because Jupiter is about moral code. This is telling you to go through a transformation about your financial belief systems. It wants you to dig deep, to investigate the root of your financial problems. Because psychology matters a lot. That Jupiter wants to teach you about that. The way you think, the way you use your logic is affecting your finances, your creativity, your hobbies, and even your love life as well. So, psychologically understanding why you keep having to have a new boyfriend or a girlfriend, for example, why I'm cheating on someone, or why I need desperately to be loved. Definitely, this would talk to you about some type of financial planning, looking at the possibility to invest, for example. That could be a good idea for you to. It could be talking to you about some type of investments you're going to be making, and maybe that's going to be the entertainment industry with the fifth house too. And definitely, if you are single, this is telling you to look at your mind, why you have got trust issues, because Jupiter can increase the trust issues also, or it wants to be teaching you about that I've got them. Yes, it could talk to us about money coming from the bank, money coming through inheritance. Uh, so money might be, but other people are supporting us somehow with money. If you have got Sagittarius rising sign, this is going to be taking place in your seventh house, and Jupiter rules your first and the fourth house. So when you have got Jupiter going through your seventh house, one of the things we tend to be reading is that it's going to increase your opportunities to have, for example, a relationship in our lives. And that's great, you know, but it's not necessarily always the case. Because Jupiter can increase the problems in the relationship too. So it could work out in two ways. If you are single, yes, this gives you the opportunity to have a relationship, but that's not necessarily my experience, by the way, with Jupiter. If you have got relationship problems, this is going to magnify them significantly. When it gives you the opportunity to get into a relationship, usually what I see with the detrimental Jupiter is that either we don't see the opportunities, or we do not, uh, or we are not vibing with the person. But definitely, Jupiter can increase here your public attention, or you might see that, connecting with the public is actually beneficial for you. You might see a little bit more that they accepting you as well. It might be just meeting someone special and not necessarily on a romantic level. It might be a business association, but Jupiter rules you. So you are walking into someone else's house. Basically, it's kind of like you are invited into a opportunity. And the first and the seventh house is about decision making. So it looks like it depends on you whether it's going to take off or not. Now, if you are married, this could actually, in a good marriage, or then it could increase the good moments in the marriage, right? So it can talk about getting married. It can talk about some type of business partnerships as well. You know what? Jupiter rules your fourth house. So actually, it could be a topic that we start talking about building a family, moving together, having children, and so forth. you know it's very also whether it's a problem or not, but it would talk to you about somehow solidifying your relationship as well, and that's going to be important here, because Saturn goes through Pisces and then Jupiter goes through your seventh house. You know what, it's very possible for a lot of you to get pregnant, for example, or to relocate. Also, it could be meeting a guy who is a foreigner or comes from a different cultural background, for example. So, this would tell you that it's time to learn about new cultures, new or differences overall. Or I'm just going to be traveling into my new partner's country, or I'm going to be visiting their grandparents and their parents, and all these type of things. But definitely, this could be a period who I'm kind of like making some type of friendship with, then it might be a benefit for us, not necessarily immediately though, but it tells you that there is a reason for our meeting. And it's not the time that matters, how long we are together, but the experience is what we had. And that could be quite intense as well. Maybe you're going to be signing some kind of like very good business opportunities, some contractual agreements. Now, that's a possibility here too. Yes, this could also talk about getting into some legal matters, let's say about your house. But then Jupiter is kind of like the guardian angel who is helping you to win this case. Or this would just tell you that you know what, even if we didn't win, there is still something which we're winning at the end of it. Or if you had been in a dispute for a while, then actually Jupiter can bring the end of it, maybe with a settlement. Also, if you are trying to publicize yourself more, this could be a great time to do that on social media and so forth, whether it's a business opportunity or maybe even seventh house is about the sellers and the buyers, and then Jupiter rules your home environment. So it's very possible that you are going to be selling your house, for example. So that would be the Jupiter going through the seventh house for Sagittarius rising sign. I'm just wondering if I did share Scorpio for you guys. Jupiter going through the eighth house. But I think we did talk about that already, didn't we? Hmm. Yes, we did speak about Jupiter going through. No, we didn't speak about Jupiter going through the eighth house, did we? Okay, let me just stop the video and then I'm going to come back to it. Yes, I do remember we spoke about it, so we don't need to. Okay, let's talk about Capricorn rising sign. So, Jupiter will be moving through the sixth house here. Jupiter rules the 12th and the third. So, you know what? You're gonna just have to watch out a little bit when it comes to things like your health. So this is a time when you are meant to be developing a little bit of a better health for yourself. That's one of the biggest one to pay attention to. So am I healthy? Do I need to learn healthier ways of living? But it's also about fixing yourself. So that would be talking about self-improvement. Take care of your health, take care of your mental health, especially that would be one of them. Whether it is about just having a second look, for example, of your medical record, whether it's just having a second look at your mental, energies and if it's all good or not. This is the house where we have to be dealing with some crisis situations, and Jupiter can magnify previous problems here as well. So definitely here we need to be mentally prepared. We need to be mentally involved into and most likely prepared and planning out. I'm gonna overcome any type of negative events, for example, in our life. Maybe you're gonna have some issues with your coworkers. Maybe you're gonna have issues with service providers. Let's say Gemini would be the phone companies, right? So you might get a phone bill and then you find it, extremely high. How do they dare? So you might be benefiting, for example, from co-workers. Maybe it's just about hanging out with them a little bit more. Maybe actually you're gonna be thinking about hiring a better quality people, for example, to your own business. Now, Jupiter can help you with that, but Jupiter in Gemini is very much about asking the right question. So preparing with those questions. It's also very possible that you want to be improving your work environment. You want your table to be a little bit more organized, for example, or organizing your paperwork, your filing system. Now, of course, Jupiter in Gemini has got issues of being too organized, though. So, but also, it could talk to you about finding a work you finally enjoy, actually. Now, often, actually, statistically speaking, not when we are doing a work which we hate, that tends to be making us sick because it mentally deprive us, and then obviously eventually it's going to be affecting the physical body as well. So this Jupiter wants you to look around, find opportunities of finding a better job, which you actually enjoy more as well. Also, it could talk to you about just enjoying being around coworkers, for example, or altogether improving on your lifestyle. Now remember that Jupiter rules your 12th house, which is the house of bad habits, right? So it's about organizing your bad habits. It's about basically it happens on the mental axis of your chart. So getting a little bit more organized mentally also. Definitely, this Jupiter wants you to have a practical approach to your spiritual practices as well. So, have you been dreaming about, I don't know, becoming a tarot reader? Then it's time to actually take action about it. So, or you have got some existing habits which just needs a little bit of an improvement. This could talk to you about, for example, you want to improve the quality of your life, you want to be improving the quality of your body. So going to the gym, doing certain type of exercises, for example, which is also going to be allowing you to be mentally free as well. The sixth house could talk about prioritizing things. So prioritizing your thoughts a little bit. All the lot of information, loads as in Jupiter, information as in Gemini, and then prioritizing them, systemizing them a little bit more so that there is no chaos there. And you might start enjoying, you know, it's about, you know what, maybe your knowledge is so vast and you've got so many notes, and then you want to bring your notes together. Now, that could be working just very fine for this period as well. The sixth house is the house of services. Jupiter rules the 12, which is the disadvantaged people. So being at the service of disadvantaged people, with Jupiter, we can provide an information to them or we can teach them a new skill set. So there is this charitable moment to it as well. Also, this could talk to you, and then at the end of the day, this would be kind of like a little bit of a karmic payback. This would be telling you that, you know what, I'm helping others. So eventually, someone is going to pop up in my life who is going to also give me a helping hand as well. As I said, health is most likely going to be a priority for you this year. So this could talk about, for example, with Jupiter finding the right doctor who is going to help you improve your well-being. Maybe you're going to go under some medical procedure. I mean, the 12th house is at the end of the day hospitals. So unfortunately, in a very negative way, it can indicate that we are in and out of hospitals though. So, I have to mention that too as well. It could also talk to you about that you want to have a pet, you want to have a companion, and maybe you're gonna do a little bit of a research about, what's the benefit of having a dog or a cat. Maybe actually you want to open a pet business. Now that could be also something. Also, I feel like because Jupiter can increase the body weight, here there is a reminder to watch out because we can start putting on weight. And the sixth house is often the house of prevention. So, Jupiter, which is the planet of abundance, for example, and Gemini can represent not necessarily the throat area, but the lower part of the throat. It Gemini is not necessarily connected to eating habits, but the sixth house is. So maybe you have to be just putting a stop to how much we eat. Or typically with Gemini, you know how it happens is that I eat a bigger portion and then I don't eat anything for, I don't know, 12 hours. So like the intermediate fasting and all these type of things. Now that could be something which might be helping you. Also, you just realize that there is more opportunity out there when it comes to work. For example, better workplaces, uh, better working conditions, or working rights, or just the benefits what other companies are actually giving. And so, therefore, it could talk to you about shifting workplaces too, because you would be able to utilize your skills better. This could, by the way, talk about work-related trainings as well. Okay, so that's Capricorn. Now, dear Aquarius, this is going to be happening in your fifth house, and Jupiter rules your eighth and the 11th house. So when Jupiter is running through the fifth house, you know what? This is the ultimate combo of having more fun. Jupiter is the significator of children, and the fifth house is also a signification of children. So some of you most likely will get pregnant. But also it's about reconnecting with your childhood memories, becoming a child, having a lot more fun. Maybe it's just playing board game at home, because the Jupiter rules the 11th house, and the 11th house is kind of like your friends who is coming into your home or your playground area. So socializing is going to be a little bit more. Also, fifth house is self-expression. So it's about kind of like being the leader of a group of people or taking up on a role among others because maybe they don't want to be leading and then you're going to be creative. But also it's about the start of a creative project as well at the same time. And Jupiter can bring recognitions here. Fifth house can talk about products we have created, such as a book, for example, with Gemini, or maybe it's a toy. Now we can start publishing those type of things. No, but of course, another meaning of the fifth house is something to do with relationship. So it's about going on a date, kissing many frogs, by the way, before one might turn into a Prince Charming. But it's about having fun, kind of like playing tricks on others as well. It's about social experiences. It's about going on holidays. Maybe this year you're gonna be taking more holidays. But meeting someone is very possible, especially if you are single around this time. But as I said, not every single of these attempts are going to turn into a relationship. And we do need to be aware of that. Jupiter just gives opportunities, whether those are the right people or not. Jupiter is in detriment. Often, actually, this person is not a right person. Surely this would also talk to you about letting go a little bit when it comes to moon. I mean, for me, Aquarius is about future goals, the long-term goals, and the fifth house is more about the short-term goals. So there is this reminder here too that, you know what, this time around, we're gonna have to grab on the short-term goals, which is actually might be giving us an immediate result as quickly as possible. That's why some people look at the fifth house as the house of investments, for example, like these short-term investments, when you're gonna have to make a decision quickly, such as taking risks as well. Fifth house can be very artistic. So with Gemini, this would be some handmade stuff. And then we can turn that into a talent, or we can even turn that into money as well at the same time. The more creative you are, especially in regards to handmade stuff, the more prosperous the year can become for you. So I pretty much like that. Uh, Definitely, this is a reminder that this should be a joyful year for you, especially when you focus on things you love doing, such as your hobbies. But often we go overboard with Jupiter being here, right? So we focus on our hobbies, maybe playing, Jenga, for example, at home, and then we forget to go outside. So there needs to be a balance here because Jupiter rules your 11th, right? There needs to be a balance of how much time we spend with the friends or, just at home and all those type of things. Jupiter also rules your eighth house. So fifth and eighth house activation can pretty much talk about pregnancy on one hand. In a negative ways, unfortunately, this could talk about a abortion as well as a miscarriage too, as in death of a child. But you know what? Most likely, not many people will experience that. But as a combination, unfortunately, this is possible. By the way, Gemini is one of the barren signs. So often it indicates that I'm trying to get pregnant with Jupiter there. We give loads of attempt, but there is a little bit of a psychological blockage there, eighth house, which we are meant to be overcoming before we actually get pregnant. So there is that reminder there too. However, sorry, Aquarius, it's not the eighth house. What it rules for you is the second house. Sorry about that. I made a bit of a mistake here, but doesn't matter because if the second house is triggered, your eighth house is triggered as well. So I'm still going to keep that around. But in that case, definitely it's about your financial talents. What is triggered here the most? So how to increase the cash flow, how to rely on yourself a lot more as well, and it could definitely talk about some cooperation with friends too, such as pulling up a business together. Uh, the second house ruler comes into the fifth. Basically, your money is coming into on the stage, right? So money can become a highlight for you this year, uh, which also brings in whether we spend way too much money on ourselves, we spend way too much money on our vanity also, and just be mindful about that. Or do I spend too much money on my romantic life, socializing, partying, doing some type of fun? Just being mindful about that. But on the other hand, it is also talking about what makes me happy, right? So going out with my friends makes me happy. It means that we're going to have to do it a little bit. Okay, and finally, dear Pisces rising sign, Jupiter is going to go through your fourth house, and Jupiter rules the first and the 10th. So, you know what? When Jupiter is going through your fourth house, it might benefit you being a little bit more at home, having a little bit more privacy, or you might benefit from properties overall. So selling a property, buying a property, investing into properties could be very good for you this year. Now, this is definitely for me. Remember that Jupiter is also ruling your 10th house. Often the question is how much time I spend at home and how much time I spend outside. As in, IC is inside the house, MC is outside of the house. So, but also it's the work and life balance as well. How much I work and how much how much time I spend at home. So the family and the professional life becomes a significant question here. Some of you will be moving surely. Some of you will be focusing a lot more on security and safety. So this could talk to us about wanting to give a little bit more safety and security to our home, right? So we want to be spending more time at home so we can fix some of our relationships within the family. But maybe you want to do some improvements in your home environment, decorations or, repairing something. But I believe that one of the most important meaning of the fourth house is something to do with your emotional foundation, your basic psychological needs. And Jupiter wants you to explore that topic a little bit more. What do you need emotionally? That should be your focus. Because if you figure out what you need emotionally, guess what? Your emotional foundation is going to get stronger. And then you're going to have that emotional stability, what we ultimately looking for with Jupiter in the fourth house, in the sign of Gemini. Yes, opportunity to buy or sell a property, great. And then it can increase our financial flow. So that's a great one. But money doesn't always make us happy. And there is that meaning there as well. It could also indicate that, let's say, you want to become a father or you want to become a parent. Often, actually, the family is increasing by someone stepping into the family. Often it's just that the siblings are getting married, as in Gemini, and then there is that, or the sibling is going to have a newborn baby. But also there could be the desire that you want to be having your own family as well. Now that's a possibility. Also, it might be the desire that I want to move to a bigger house, for example. Maybe I want to have more of a fresh air. I want to live on the countryside, for example. This could be a topic. Or just getting in touch with your roots, with your family members. You might not have seen them for a while. You might not have been in touch with them for a while. So it could be about visiting your home country. Um, but also, Jupiter is about freedom. So, leaving your home country or getting detached from some of the family traditions as well. It's also possible that a member of your family is actually going to help you out financially. Maybe it's about self-nurturance too. So, what type of practices do I do to nurture myself emotionally, physically, mentally? The fourth house can represent emotional eating as well. So even this can be leading to putting on weight too, by the way, especially when we are depressed, mentally not at the right place. Then I start touching some type of more and more sweet foods or these type of stuff. And then all of a sudden we get rounded up. Jupiter rules your professional life. So it's kind of like the professional mother, the professional real estate agent, or just the desire to start working from home more. And that could be a significant topic for you too. I feel like Jupiter ruling the first house, combining with the fourth, is very much about also self-development, exploring some of our family heritage and blockages so that we can overcome them. And then it brings us, some type of self-development. Jupiter is the planet of truth. So getting to know the truth in our family background, that could be a major topic for you. Guys, this was my pretty much one part of the weekly forecast. There will be other videos, uh, one definitely this week. I want to be exploring the Pluto-Jupiter cycle because they are coming to a trine next year. So I think it's going to be important. I'm going to be exploring the North Node and the Chiron conjunction, which is coming up at the beginning of next year. And of course, it's going to be starting a new pretty much of a 7 to 9 year cycle. And then we're going to have Jupiter and Saturn square happening next year as well. So I want to be exploring that too. So there will be a few videos shortly about 2024, and I'm going to break it down for all 12 signs. Thank you, everyone. And don't forget to check out my classes on progressions. And the code will be right at the beginning of the screen, at the beginning of this talk. So use that. Thank you. Bye-bye.